Sechi.
All right, guys, welcome to the Up and Down match.
I couldn't remember the third part of it. It's been a whole month. Hi, guys. How's it going? I'm Doa. With me is Wolf. How are you doing today, Wolf?
I'm doing great, man. Yesterday's matches were awesome, and today's matches are going to be just the same. Again, today we have 3 Protosses, a Terran, and a Zerg, so very Protoss-heavy group. There's going to be a lot of PvP.
Yeah, no kidding.
And a lot of PvE everything. We've only got one match today scheduled that will be not PvP, and that will be between our 2 non-Protoss players, Keen and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Does that make you happy? So many Protoss today?
Well, you know, it's something that would make a lot of Protoss players happy. I don't take bias about things like that. I mean, to me, I think may the best player win, you know?
Right.
But I mean, it's good to see that some Protosses are kind of evolving and changing and improving their playstyles. And a lot of the Protosses we've seen today are Code S worthy, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. A couple of them are. I think Oz, just to kind of take a look at one of those players, Oz is a guy that kind of came in, caused a big shock, I'd say. But let's take a look at yesterday's matches first here. Now, of course, we saw Gumiho and Puzzle, FXO Gumiho and Slayer's Puzzle, that is, moving up to Code S. And that's also Sage staying in Code S, I believe. This is then Genius and Zenio going down to Code A. So a bit of a shake-up there. But, yeah, it was an interesting day. The last match of yesterday, the last game yesterday was really exciting.
Oh, yeah, of course. That last Protoss was really intense. And, you know, we may have some games like that today. We may get down to that last final game where the players have to just battle it out.
It could. We'll have to see if we go through some overtime as well. Sometimes we see that when you do this sort of thing. Look at that. They've got little new MVP hoodies. It is getting a little bit colder outside. I've actually got a cold myself, so sorry in advance if there's any sniffling or whatever cold break.
Luckily for me, I'm resistant to colds.
You are.
I hang out with Doa all the time. Like I sit in Doa's room. We like watch movies together. We like have sleepovers, and I still don't get sick.
I eat half a potato chip. I give the other half to Wolf, and he eats it, and he's just fine.
Here is Oz. He's our wizard man. And look at his results there, losing only to Curious in the finals of Code A. Otherwise,
that's a bit of a
very far. Curious actually, notably not dropping any sets in Code A, going 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, and then 4-0.
Well, did you know that means that so far the only race to win an entire GSL Code A and Code S without losing a single game is there?
Yeah.
ST did it in Code S, now we have Curious in Code A. Volcrop's rubbing off on me. I'm like busting out the stats randomly now. Apparently.
You're busting out the stats, man.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm really curious to see how Oz is going to do.
I think Oz is actually one of the favorites of this group.
I think so, too. You know, despite the Code A finals, he put on a really good show. How about this guy right here,
This is our Sith Lord, Hongan Prime Wee. Losing to July Zerg and Lysira, 2 Zergs in his Code S group. That's why he's here. And his his sets in the GSL 40 and 40, that's 54, but in matches he's still over 50%. Of course, he basically has to be in order to stay in Code S as long as he has. And, you know, I think this guy might be the other favorite of the group. I think he will stay in Code S, but he's going to have to prove himself here. His opponents are not easy ones.
Yeah. Not to mention he's just back from MLG as well, so might be a little bit of fatigue issues as well.
JYP is one of those pros who's been kind of hyped up for a while. He's shown awesome Blink Stalker play. His PvP is really impressive. But he kind of played a little bit sloppily against Oz in the Code A round of 8. That's how he lost. And he still was able to secure that round of 8 spot to get into the up and down groups. And I think JYP is one of those players who may or may not get out, I think, very similarly to Keen. Whereas Keen, you know, plays somewhat inconsistently at times, too.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You know, you got to kind of think of it, the Code S being the top 32 StarCraft 2 players in the world sometimes. And, you know, is Keen top 32
Yeah,
material?
that is really the question. Is he really top 32 in the world material? That's exactly right.
Yep.
And Yu-Gi-Oh! Here, I don't think he is. This is the guy in the group who he's always tried to get into Code S. He's always been on the cusp of getting into Code S. He's been in GSL forever. But I don't think he's ready still. You know, he has not improved significantly since he's joined. And even Stella himself, when asked, you know, do you think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is ready? He said, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. You know, he's kind of like the Code A version of Clyde almost, where he's like always in Code A. He always like stays in, does pretty well, but he never gets knocked out of Code A really. But he never really wins at all either. So I don't know.
True.
I feel like he's just going to kind of stick around Code A for a while. So
I would completely agree with that. I think he is like the Clyde of Code A.
He is. He's kind of like that. The Code A Clyde, I guess. Minus the sideburns.
We had so many Hongen jokes yesterday.
I know. Oh, Hongen.
Well, he's finally here, man. And Hongen actually did pretty well at MLG as well, don't forget. Placing pretty highly there. Not highly enough to get his Code S spot back
MC got
secured.
that. How about that?
Yeah, MC back into Code S. We'll see how he does. I think he hasn't improved enough to really be able to make it past the round of the group stages, I guess you could say, of Code S. But he might do it, We'll see. I'm kind of excited to see him back in Code S to see if he can prove himself or if it'll just hold true that he's not quite ready yet.
For a guy that won the GSL twice and then suddenly dropped off at the face of the earth, I mean, he got knocked right out of Code A immediately into Code B. Then to come back at a foreign event, get the Code S spot, over all the other Koreans that went there, and then to be suddenly back in there, has he improved enough to do it? That's that's kind of what everybody's
so we're gonna have
wondering.
to wait and see.
Yeah, I know we're talking about these guys today with the Code A up and downs, but MC, it's a big story too in the GSL.
It's a pretty big story, yeah.
Yeah.
So MC back in Code S, we're gonna have to wait and see those group selections to see what group he ends up being in before we can really make any judgment calls on how we think he's gonna do. In the past, MC has actually chosen groups that are really difficult. He's done that because he likes to, just be that guy who just
showboat. He likes to show off
that's the best way to put it. I was like, I don't know how to say this, but yeah. He likes to toot his trumpet.
He's like the Chad Ochocinco of StarCraft 2. He is. That's how I would describe him.
Maybe, yeah.
That is an American football joke for those of you who may not have gotten that.
Yeah, I don't really follow American football very much, but I've heard all
Somebody
about that.
Somebody out there does.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I've heard all about it, man. I've seen his jersey.
Yeah. He's a funny guy.
It doesn't make sense because it's not even how you say that number in Spanish.
I know, that's right. That's not even correct.
Yeah.
I can't even.
That's just how you say 5.
I'm trying to remember how to say it.
5-6. That's 5-6, right?
No, it's 8-5.
Ocho's 8.
Ocho Cinco. 6.
I was thinking of 5 in Korean, and then I got a little confused.
85. I don't know. Whatever. Let's move on to this match here. These guys aren't going to be speaking any Spanish. This is MVP Keen versus FXO Oz. And, it should be a pretty interesting match. Crossfire, it's always one of those maps for TVP where it's like, well, you kind of expect the Terran to go ahead and 1-1-1. But, Keen, I don't think he's that type of guy, Wolf. I don't think so. I don't think he's got that in him.
He might do it.
Maybe.
But, of course, he's not in Kansas anymore. He's playing against Oz on Crossfire. And I think this is going to be one of those maps where anything goes, really. We could see all sorts of macro builds from either player. I don't think we'll see it in early Nexus. You can't really one-gate expand on this map very easily because of the fear of that Banshee Marine tank timing attack. And it's pretty hard to take a super fast Nexus, but you can put a little bit of pressure on and then take an expand. We'll see, though. I'm really curious to see what we're going to see out of these guys. We're going to find out just now as the map has loaded. Are you ready, Doa?
I am ready. You're already analyzing the game before it starts and everything.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
See what happens.
Let's find out here at the GSL up and down matches.
Oh, this goal I'm having even harder time of putting together a complete sentence than I usually do. Up at the top of the map, we have our Red Terran from the team MVP. He's pretty good. He is.
MVP Keen.
He's keen. That means
he's keen on getting that Code S spot, that's for sure.
If you apply him to your longsword, he will give you a bonus to critical hits. That's right. And down here at the bottom map is...
I don't even know what that's a reference to.
That is a Dungeons & Dragons reference.
I never played.
Oh, that's too bad. It's a fun game. Guess what my first class was in Dungeons & Dragons?
Mathematics?
No. No, that's my worst class ever. That's like the worst answer you can give. But it was funny. That was a funny answer.
It's like, is that what you had first period, Doa? Dungeons
No.
& Dragons?
I wish, man. No, everybody thought that was an evil game. Where I was. I was a bard.
You're a bard?
I was a bard.
bards are singers and flute players, right?
Yeah, well, nothing says tough like standing in the back playing a lute while your friends battle monsters.
Yeah, man.
It's true. It takes real guts to do that.
It really does. I would have to agree.
Well, it's hard to put on a live performance. It's even harder when there's monsters attacking it. So people don't respect bards like they should. Just the facts, man.
Well, I think bards are good singers in most cases when I've seen them sing.
Select could be a bard.
Select is a bard, actually.
He's like the StarCraft 2 bard. It's true.
He actually is a bard, man. You should look up videos of him singing. If you guys haven't seen that, you should look him up, man. He's a bard.
I tweeted that the other day. Well, fairly normal stuff from both of these guys.
Keen is actually not taking gases. He's going to go for a 1 barracks expand, which is fairly common to see on this map for Terran. And in fact, the probe sees that, so this could actually trigger Oz to go for a 1 gate expand. This is something that you can do when you scout that your opponent is taking no gas, but he's taking a second gas immediately here.
Well, you know, there's ways you can punish a Terran that goes gasless expand as well. You know, you can early pressure generally is pretty good, especially if the timing for that first bunker is a little bit off. So, you know, if you're a Protoss player that's observant, you can definitely take advantage of it. Oh, 2 gas right away for Keen, so he's going to be doing some teching right away.
You know what's interesting is that Oz actually waited until the core was done, and normally when you don't make a Zealot, you wait till the core is done, you just chrono boost out a Stalker, but Oz actually chose to make a Zealot, did not chrono boost it, but chose to make a Zealot rather than a Stalker. The SCV leaves, assuming that the Stalker will be coming out, but it actually is in fact a Zealot, and now he's going to follow that up with a Sentry.
It's a clever little way to save some gas.
Yeah, I wanted to get that Sentry out ASAP.
So, with the 2 gas that Keen is getting right now, I'm kind of curious. Oh, look out, probe! SCV looked like he just wanted to take the tower. In reality, he wanted that probe's wallet.
Well, you know, in most cases when you have an SCV fighting a probe, the probe will always win because it has regenerating shields. But that probe was a coward.
They don't regenerate if you're in combat.
That's true. So you have to micro. You have to be like
Chris
the Ranger, man.
Fight. That's right. You need top 3 probe control if you're going to win.
He did take the other tower, so now he's going to be able to see anything that comes forward.
Yeah. Oh, it will be a fast Nexus from Oz after another gate.
Yeah, it's the double gas expand that sometimes players can pull off. It's really difficult to pull off. I've only seen Huck really do it well. You get 1 gate, you make the Sentry quickly. Sometimes you make a Stalker, but most players like to get that fast Sentry. It's fairly risky because Sentries are not really combat units, but you have to rely a lot on your force fields to do a build like this.
Now, Keen right now, it's got his factory. He's putting down a starport right away and a tech lab on the factory. We might actually see some Banshees from Keen, actually. There's a couple different interesting openings in TVP that Terrans have been kind of trying out. One of them is Banshees. Another one that I've seen is Terrans will put down 2 barracks and go double reactored barracks siege tank expand after going a gasless command center. So it's interesting. Terrans are starting to kind of play around with some new openings in TVP. So
that they are, cool, and Keen was able to scout the Nexus with that SCV. Oz split his sentries into different directions to spot for something like this, but even though he saw the SCV, the Korean casters are going crazy because they see that a Banshee is going to be produced here, as well as Cloak, and there is no robotics facility up for Oz, so this is not going to be good for him. Of course, he'll probably start a robotics pretty soon here, but even so, based on what he's seen, Cloak is going to be the last thing that he expects, and that's why I really like this choice by Keen.
Well, yeah, this is exactly what Terran players have started to do. They've started to do kind of variations of these higher tech builds after that gasless expand, and a lot of Protoss players just haven't been expecting it.
Well, Oz is going to attack here, man.
Well. Okay.
He's going to attack with several sentries. There's only a few Marines out.
Here's the trouble, is that it's pretty tough to defend something like that when you're doing such heavy teching. This is why Terran players
this is going to be really bad. Guardian Shield goes up. There's only 2 Marines in that bunker.
Oh, and the SCVs, I don't think they're going to get there in time.
No, they're not, and the Zealots are going to kill everything here, and the Banshees are now going to be used defensively. If they're used all, the Banshee actually escapes now. Running by, does not yet have Cloak. The robotics facility is on the way for Oz.
Keen may just want to try to go and do as much damage as he possibly can here because he is really in a lot of trouble.
He could go for the tech lab here as well, don't forget. Guardian Shield goes up. There's only 2 Marines firing, but decides to use the Guardian Shield nonetheless. Drops another Guardian Shield. Some good force fields here, damaging these units. Cloak will finish. The Banshee is now arriving at the natural.
So many SCVs lost. Nothing to repair the tank. That's going to go down. Here comes the Banshee, though. Like you said, at the natural. Cloaking, and there's nothing that Oz can do to respond to this for now anyway. That robotics facility is almost done. The Keen is taking so much damage back home.
Yeah, he's taking so many hits. Right now, the worker count is 43 probes to 12 SCVs.
Yeah. I don't think this Banshee is going to be able to
no
kill
matter
enough
how many probes that Banshee kills, it won't be enough to equalize the worker count. That second Banshee coming out, though, is going to ward off Oz, at least for now. He's going to kill some of his SCVs on his way out. Should continue to do damage to the main. Probably should pull the majority of his Zealots there. Keen has lifted his natural to the third base location that is actually mining there right now, something that Oz is not yet aware of, but he is sending a Zealot over to check.
Yeah, he's on top of this already. The Banshee turning around for some reason.
Ran out of energy.
Oh, no, that Zealot's going to find it. And he... Yeah, look out, Mule. Mule's not paying attention to me, Wolf. He's just going to die.
He is going to die, man. Listen to Doe, he gives good advice.
Yep. Like, run for your life.
And right now, the worker count, despite having that, Command Center still alive, is 37 to 12. Even the Banshee harass was not enough. There's an Observer out now. That Banshee doesn't even have enough energy to cloak at the natural. And the Zealots are turning back. A few more units actually attacking the main base location of Keen, knowing that Keen doesn't have enough for another Banshee at this point. And Keen is just going to fall apart here.
Yeah, I think this is it. I mean, it's going to be nearly impossible for Keen to even consider winning this game. I mean, it's over, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say. There's
not no way, no how, man. He can take out Oz here.
No way, no how.
Right now, Keen is like the cowardly lion.
That's right.
When Oz stands and he says, "I am the great and powerful Oz."
If he would have went 1-1-1, well, that Wolf would be a horse of a different color.
That would be a horse of a different color.
Right. I don't know. He can click his heels all he wants. He's not going to get away from the Wizard of Oz this game.
Well, pay no attention to the build behind the corner because this time, these Cloak Banshees, as much as they can try to do here with just a few more Stalkers warping in, it's not going to matter. The Command Center of Keen floating away from the main, it's actually burning down. Doesn't have enough. He doesn't have any SCVs anywhere near to repair. Doesn't even have enough energy for a Mule. And more Stalkers warping in are going to clean up these Banshees.
Yep.
Meanwhile, a Stargate is being made so we can just make one Phoenix to end all of this harassment once and for all. And a Zealot doing more damage here. Stalkers coming in. And I think that is going to be about it, Doa.
Should be, I mean.
Oh, well, these Banshees are over here, but guess what? There's an Observer.
Yeah, that should be it. Expected GG. Any second. GG. There it is. And Oz getting a pretty convincing win over Keen in Game 1. But I got to say, I mean, Keen just played such a risky opening. I mean, he was kind of asking for it.
He was hoping that Oz was going to try to do one of those creator-style builds, but skip the Robo and go double forge really quickly and start getting upgrades. Of course, when they do that, they can get cannons, but even if they get cannons, it's so incredibly difficult to hold off that attack. If you don't have a Robo, you have the cannons coming up, the Banshees coming, you lose a lot of probes. If you're not really being mobile on the map, if you have only sentries and zealots, the attack can be kind of bad, but this is just a weird situation. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, normally when you go for one barracks expand, you add more barracks and go for bio immediately, but in this case, he was hoping that his opponent would not get Robo because he knew that going for Cloak was the last thing to expect, and then he just attacked, and it was really smart for him to attack at that location because if there were several more units out, if he had more barracks, if he had more bunkers, for example, then he could have just gone home and everything would have been fine. But in this case, there was nothing.
Yeah, and the Robo Bay really wasn't a robotics facility, rather. Really wasn't all that late for Oz either. I mean, he lost some probes, but the nice thing with an opening like that is you're constantly chrono boosting probes, too. So even if you do lose some to a Banshee, you're still not that far behind.
Especially if you can kill all of your opponent's SCVs.
Yeah, that helps, too. That's not bad. Yeah, if you can kill all of your opponent's workers.
When he got to the base and started force fielding that bunker, he started his Robo immediately because he was like, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
You have no units. You're either making siege tanks or you're making Banshees, and either way I want a Robo, so he made the Robo immediately.
Well, if he had been going just straight for siege tanks, there would have already been a tank out too, so only seeing that few Marines and nothing else says it all. Let's check out our next game. It is going to be a PvP.
Yeah, Hongan versus JYP, our TSL player versus the Sith Lord of Prime.
That's right.
He's actually getting... Hongan's haircut is getting more and more intense, man.
It is. He has got, like...
He may be the new Afro Toss? Is he the new Afro Toss?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's a perm or something. He's got really curly hair for a Korean dude. Some Koreans do have really curly hair, but it's rare, You don't see it very often.
Well, the Protoss I'm referring to, Afro Toss, I believe his ID is Paralyze. I forgot his ID because everyone calls him Afro Toss. He's a Brood War player, but Hongan may be adopting a similar style here as his hair becomes more and more Afro-like.
The thing is that he's not going to be able to wear his hood effectively with such large hair. I'm a little bit worried about that. I still maintain that Hagen could grow the awesomest mustache of any StarCraft 2 player.
Yes, he can.
He always has a perpetual.
I know
mustache.
we've actually never talked about this, but I've actually always thought about this, man.
Yeah, look at that.
Hagen's the guy who's got a mustache. He's like at a fancy restaurant, and he tells you don't have a reservation.
That's right.
He's like, I'm sorry, sir, you don't have a reservation.
Yeah, that's basically him.
That's who Hagen is, man.
Like develops some sort of French accent as well.
I really like Hagen. I think he might be able to make it out of this group. He's always been in Code S.
Maybe, man. We'll find out. The game's starting right now. Let's see who's going up and who's going down. This is the GSL.